I never thought silence could feel this loud. At night, when everything finally slows down and the world stops asking questions, the quiet presses against me like a second skin. It settles into my bones. It reminds me of things I worked so hard to forget. I'm sitting on the floor or beside my bed, my back against the mattress, knees pulled tight to my chest. The carpet is rough under my fingers, worn thin in places where I paced too much. The room smells faintly of dust and something old memories, maybe? Or regret. I stopped trying to tell the difference a long time ago. Outside, the city keeps breathing, cars pass. Somewhere a siren cries out and then fades. Life continues, stubborn and indifferent. I don't move. If I stay still long enough, sometimes the thoughts hesitate. Sometimes they circle me like predators unsure whether I'm already dead. I close my eyes. That's a mistake. Because the moment I do, I see it again. Not as a dream, not as a memory softened by time, but sharp, clear, immediate, like it never left. I learned early that survival doesn't always look like strength. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like smiling at the wrong moments and swallowing words before they reach your tongue. Sometimes it looks like pretending you're fine so convincingly that even you start to believe it. I was good at pretending. People used to tell me I was calm, strong, mysterious, even. They didn't know that what they called mystery was just the parts of me I buried so deep I forgot how to reach them myself. I grew up learning how to listen more than speak. Learning how to read rooms, moods, the subtle shifts in people's voices that warned you when it was time to disappear emotionally. I learned that love could be conditional, that safety could be temporary, that silence could keep you alive. So I stayed quiet. Years passed like that. Quiet years. Careful years. And then there was him. I tell myself, I don't think about him anymore. That I've moved on. That time did what time is supposed to do. But time doesn't erase. It just teaches you how to live around the damage. I met him on a day that felt unimportant at the time. Ordinary, forgettable. If I had known how much weight that moment would carry, I might have stayed home. Or taken a different street. Or turned around the second our eyes met. But life doesn't give warnings like that. He smiled at me first. A small smile, polite, almost shy. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that screamed danger. That's how it always starts. We talked about nothing. About weather. About work. About things that don't matter. He listened when I spoke. Really listened. Like my words were worth something. That alone felt intoxicating. I didn't notice how carefully he studied me. How quickly he learned where my voice softened, where my eyes dropped, where I hesitated. Predators don't rush. They observe. At first, he felt safe. That's the part people never understand. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't push. He didn't force. He just slowly became necessary. A presence. A constant. Someone who knew me, or at least, the version of me I allowed to exist. And I let him. Because loneliness is persuasive. Because when someone offers you attention wrapped in kindness, you don't always check for knives underneath. I remember the first time something felt wrong. It wasn't a big thing. It never is. It was a look. A pause too long. A question that sounded harmless but landed heavy. Why do you always apologize? I laughed it off. Made a joke. Changed the subject. I didn't want to examine it too closely. Because if you look too hard at cracks, you have to admit something might break. So I stayed quiet. He started choosing for me. What I wore, where we went, who I talked to. Always framed as concern, protection, love, and I mistook control for care. That's another thing silence teaches you, to accept what's offered without asking whether you deserve better. The night everything changed, it wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no shattered glass. Just a door closing too softly behind me. I remember the sound of it. The finality. The way the room suddenly felt smaller. I remember realizing, too late, that I didn't know how to say no anymore. Afterwards, I sat in the bathroom for a long time. The tiles were cold. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I stared at my reflection like I was looking at a stranger. I told myself it was my fault. I told myself I should have spoken sooner. Louder, clearer. That silence, the same silence that once protected me, had betrayed me. But I still didn't tell anyone. Because shame is quieter than pain. And heavier. I learned how to function. How to go to work. How to smile at strangers. How to carry conversations while my mind replayed moments I couldn't escape. I became an expert at being okay. Nights were the worst. That's when the noise inside me grew teeth. I'd lie awake counting breaths, counting cracks in the ceiling, counting reasons not to scream. Sometimes I pressed my hand against my chest just to feel something solid. Something real. Proof that I was still here. He didn't disappear from my life immediately. He lingered, apologized, explained, minimized, and part of me wanted to believe him. Because believing him meant believing I wasn't broken. That what happened wasn't real. That silence hadn't cost me anything. But truth has a way of seeping through denial, no matter how thick the walls you build. I left eventually. Not dramatically. Not with closure or speeches. Just quietly. A bag. A note I never sent. A life rearranged overnight. People said I was brave. They didn't see the nights I sat on the floor shaking because freedom felt just as terrifying as captivity. Trauma doesn't end when the situation ends. It moves in with you, learns your schedule, sleeps in your bed. Years later, I still flinch at certain tones of voice. Still freeze when doors close too loudly. Still rehearse conversations in my head long after they're over, wondering what I should have said. Silence still follows me. Sometimes I think about telling someone, saying it out loud, letting the words exist outside my body. But then I imagine their faces, the questions, the pity, the disbelief, and my throat closes. Because silence, as cruel as it is familiar. Tonight, though, it feels different. Tonight, the weight is unbearable. I'm tired of carrying this alone. Tired of being the only witness to my own pain. Tired of pretending that surviving means forgetting. I don't know who I would tell, or how. I just know that the words are pressing against the inside of my ribs, begging to be released. My phone buzzes beside me. A message from someone asking if I'm okay. I stare at the screen. My thumb hovers over the keyboard. For the first time in years, I consider answering honestly. And that thought terrifies me more than silence ever did. I pick up my phone, thumb hovering over the screen. Years of silence have made me clumsy with words. But tonight, something inside me refuses to stay quiet. I type, I can't keep this inside anymore. I hit send. The reply comes quickly. I'm here, always. I breathe in and slump back against the bed, feeling the weight of everything I never said. Memories press against me every hesitation, every forced smile, every night I spent alone, trembling and counting the cracks in the ceiling. I remember him. The way he studied me, learned my pauses, made me doubt myself, and slowly took control. The way I mistook attention for care. How silence, which once protected me, betrayed me in the end. I left eventually, quietly, no dramatic confrontation. A bag, a note I never sent. A life rearranged overnight. People said I was brave. They didn't see the nights I trembled, thinking freedom was just as terrifying as captivity. Years passed. Therapy helped. Journals helped. Speaking in small doses helped. Slowly, I rebuilt myself. I learned that strength is not the absence of fear, but the courage to face it. The weight of silence remains, but it no longer rules me. I still flinch at loud doors. I still pause at harsh tones. I still replay conversations, but I can navigate them now without collapsing. I've learned to listen to my instincts and speak, even if it trembles, even if it hurts. Sitting here, the city humming outside, I let myself feel everything I've carried. The fear, the shame, the pain, they are mine, but they do not define me. I survived. I am not broken. I glance at the phone again. Thinking of you, it reads. I smile softly. There is still pain, yes. There will always be memory. But there is also presence, possibility, hope. Tonight, silence no longer suffocates. It sits beside me, a reminder of what I endured and what I overcame. I have spoken. I have acted. I have reclaimed my life. And that is enough. I stand and stretch, feeling the stiffness in my limbs ease. The room seems larger, the air lighter. For the first time in years, I feel not just the absence of threat, but the presence of possibility. I lie back against the bed, eyes closed, letting the night carry me. I do not shrink. I do not hide. I exist, fully, fiercely, and I am free.